It's just me. I don't have any friends. Hey everybody, it's me, Basic Dave, and I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to this podcast. I mean, my life it's not boring, but it's also like not so important that it should take you away from doing what you're doing. But I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to support me on this journey of opening up. So anyway, now that all that mushy stuff is out of the way, we can talk about something that's important. How common sense is not common. Okay, so this is episode 5. Common sense is not common, and we're going to talk about how adulting is not easy. So if you guys don't know what adulting is, it's basically being an adult and just doing adult-like things. So for those of you who are like, what does he mean by adulting? It's like a thing. So you just look it up yourself on Google. But yeah, basically the new hip word from people of a certain generation is adulting. Adulting, right? So if you say it with me, then Beetlejuice pops up, right? I'm just joking. But anyway, yeah, so adulting is not easy. And there's so much information about adulting. In fact, there's a website that I came across that says adultingstartshere.com, of course. Adultingstartshere.com. They are not sponsoring this by any means, but I think it's interesting. But before we get down this path, I want to ask you to follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at IAmBasicDave, just to stay updated on all types of information, whether it be stuff that's on the podcast or stuff that's just me venting. But either way it goes, I want you to feel connected as often as possible. And also, retweets do not mean endorsements. So, without further ado, let's get started. In this episode, episode 5, Common Sense is Not Common. Adulting is Not Easy. So, as I mentioned earlier, adultingstartshere.com is a website that I think everyone should get to know. I don't know these people at all, so again, I'm not trying to sit up here and endorse them. They're not sponsoring, but I will say this is pretty interesting. There's an article that I came across, Adulting 101. What are the responsibilities of adulthood? So, if you are 18 and up, I think you should know this information. Obviously, common sense isn't common, but if you grew up without an involved family, like if your mom and dad were not involved, or if you were like in foster care, like I was at early on in my life, in my development stages, you just don't have that wisdom that's imparted in you. And so you're just kind of walking around in the streets looking lost. Like, how come no one told me these things? Well, you can't say that here. Listening to Basic Dave, you are going to be the smartest person in the room for at least 30 minutes. But no, after like around 32 minutes, you're on your own. But like at least within 30 minutes, you could be that smart. Much more, you could be that smarter. That much more smarter. Okay, so yeah. But yeah, so the website's adultingstartshere.com. The blog I was reading was Adulting 101. What are the responsibilities of adulthood? Well, number one, adults take responsibilities for where they are in life. That hit different, I guess you would say, because when you are living life, you don't realize that there are so many responsibilities that go into being an adult. You look at your parents through your childlike eyes and you're like, oh God, they're not doing much, or they don't have to do all these chores, or I don't understand why I have to do all this and that and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And you just don't understand. And then once you become an adult, you're like, Dad, you guys, when you said we didn't have money to go to McDonald's, you meant that. Like, it's real. These are luxuries, having children. I mean, it is a full experience. Because if you really love your kids and you want to give them the best life that they can, you also have to be willing to tell them, no, we can't afford to do certain things because it puts you in a situation. Because everything is extremely expensive nowadays due to inflation and other expenses, like paying taxes, which is another thing that's on this article. They say that, did you know that the average person pays over 40% of their lifetime income in taxes? I didn't know that. I learned something new today. If you work, or most of the things that you do as far as earning income is taxed, except like certain life insurance policies and things like that. But for the most part, taxes are inevitable. I think there's an old saying that I was told years ago that like the only thing certain in life is birth, death, and taxes. So I guess those three things are important. Yeah. So outside of all of that, taxes are inevitable, and it is a responsibility that you have to take into account. Specifically, like if you have your own business. As a business owner, y'all know I own World Media House, and when tax season comes, it's not a pretty picture for me. Anything that you bring in is taxable, but if you have your business set up in a certain way, you'll have everything that you bring in as a business owner looks like that's how much money you have on your personal account. So try your very best not to set up a Schedule C if you don't have to, because that reflects differently on your personal taxes. Again, I'm not a tax attorney and all that stuff. I'm not a tax professional, but I'm just saying from my own personal experiences, if you don't have to schedule your business as a Schedule C, don't. But anyway, yeah. So paying bills is on this list, and providing for yourself. It's difficult to pay bills, and when I was a child, I didn't understand why my parents were being selfish with their money. I'm like, I don't understand why you guys aren't letting me go to Disney World on the commercials, because back in the day we had commercials. Now people just skip ads or pay for things to not have commercials. But when we were younger, we would see commercials of everyone having a great time at Disney World, and they had those stupid ears. But you're like, yeah, I want to go to Disney World. I want to do these things. I want to experience life. And but you didn't realize, like, hey, we have to eat. And 9-to-5 salaries, I mean, they don't go as far as people think. I mean, and then on top of that, you're spending most of your day at work. Like, it's no joke. You don't get to really spend time with your family. That's why if you look at some of those old movies and old shows, the dads who were working outside of the house were pissed off. That's why they were mad and they were drinking, because they had horrible bosses and they had to put up with all that crap and smiling and people being fake and all that stuff. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Long story short, paying bills is not fun. Oh, here's another one. Managing your own money. So it's one thing to pay bills, and it's a whole nother thing to make sure that you have resources to last until the next payday. I'm a firm believer in So my father, he passed away. My adopted father passed away when I was 10. And if you guys don't know this, I was actually a product of a rape. So my birth mother was raped, and then she had me, and then gave me up for adoption. But she actually gave me to one of her friends. So I was able to still be in her life. But I was under the impression that she was my aunt versus my birth mother. So the ones that I called cousins my whole life were actually my brother and sister. So whole nother story. We need to drink a lot and talk about that one day when we drink. So we'll do that together. But anyway, let's keep moving on. So one thing my adopted dad taught me was you save 10%. You tithe 10%. So like, you give it to the church or whatever, your charitable donation. So you tithe 10%, you save 10%, and then you live on the rest. So 80% of your check needs to go to bills and all those other things, and then 10% goes to savings, and the other 10% goes to tithes and, giving to charitable donations and things like that, because you want to still stay level-headed. But I do that now, and it definitely has worked and paid a lot into my life and who I am as a person. And in fact, I actually tied on I do this with my business. I'll tithe 10%, give into the charities and things like that, and then I'll save 10%, and then everything else is just business expenses and pay bills. So, and that also helped me with the next thing that's on this list, which is developing a budget, identifying areas that I can't skimp on. So, like, I'm gonna need to find clothes, right? So, like, in one of the episodes earlier, I talked about how I went to the Goodwill. I love thrifting, by the way. That's a whole experience. We should do a whole episode on that. Remind me later, y'all, in the comments, to do an episode on thrifting. But I realized early in life that the same pants that are $75 at Dillard's, and shout out to Dillard's, by the way, they're holding on with they're holding on by the string of their pants. But because they'll be like Sears, and they'll probably burn up anyway. But long story short, but yeah, I learned the same pants that cost $75 at Dillard's are like $7 at the Goodwill, and they're just gently used, if that. I mean, for guys, we only really just like use our pants to put them on so we can cover up our junk, and then when we get home, we just take off and wash them, and we're done. But like, you know, women, they can only wear like things once, and so it might be a good investment for a woman to just go there and buy things and wear their outfits and go. Because if you think about it, when you lose weight or if you gain weight, the clothes go back. They go back to the Goodwill anyway, so it's like a full circle. You're just kind of, you know, just buying them at that point in life where they're kind of just, you know, waiting for a new owner, you know? It's like a puppy. You buy puppy pants. Well, no, that's... Hopefully you're not making puppies into clothes like Cruella de Vil. Oh my gosh, now this got really dark. But yeah, so continue moving on. So the budgeting, you want to make sure that you're developing a good budget. So, you know, you're going to need clothes. It makes sense to just buy clothes for an inexpensive price and durable clothes that will last the test of time. And then, you know, kind of identify early on before you're budgeting, like, hey, do I want to lose weight in the next 10 years? If not, and I want to stay around the same size, then I'll just buy some clothes and at the, you know, the Goodwill or whatever, and then just keep them, you know, so you don't have to keep buying clothes like that. Or go to like, well, no, thrift stores are probably your best option. I was going to say go to outlets and stuff like that, but I don't know if outlets still exist, because everything's going online. So, yeah, figure that out on your own. But let me see. Oh, planning for retirement and other long-term goals. So, like 401ks, Roth IRAs, conversion ladders, all of that, insurances, planning for the future. Yeah, you want to create like a personalized roadmap. So that way you can kind of check and balance and check off, like, am I meeting the goals that I've set for myself? Now, that's fine and dandy when you are a single person, specifically like a single man. You're like, hey, I ain't got no kids, I ain't got no wife, I ain't got no responsibilities, I just make my money and do what I want, right? Piss in the wind. But in this case, when you're trying to get married or you're thinking about getting married, now you got to look not only at your personalized roadmap, but you also look at hers, you know, your future wife's. You're like, hey, does this align with my goals? Are we going to end in the same vicinity, or do we get on separate buses, you know, down the line? Or if she doesn't really have many goals and you decide to be the goal leader and you're like, hey, this is where we're going to go as a couple, then that's completely different. So, creating a secure roadmap is worth its weight in gold. In fact, there are some studies, and I don't have them pulled up right now, but there are some studies that highlight women want stability. They don't care about good loving. They don't care about, you know, how much money you make. They just want to make sure that they're secure. So you could punch a bear in the face, or you could have a Roth IRA. And guess who they're going to choose? Someone who can give them some security long term. I mean, that's just pretty much how things go. Now, let's see. Oh, here it is. Here's another one for adulting. Managing your interpersonal relationships. Whew, that's a tough one. You guys remember I was talking to you guys on another episode about how I was talking with my friend Matt. We were kind of talking about this too, and like I promise you, these these things are not staged, okay? Like, our conversations are not staged at all, but it just kind of flows like that, right? So we were just talking about how it's very difficult to keep relationships afloat, specifically when you're an adult, because you're working all the time, you're trying to get your kids together, you're trying to deal with being, a good citizen by being involved with community activities, that you just sometimes forget to pick up the phone and saying, hey, bro, how are you? Or, hey, sis, hey, it's hard to do that. Even though it seems like it's simple, it's not. Those 3 minutes of, hey, how are you, and a text, I don't know, because you just get so tired. I mean, raise your hand if you get tired, and you're tired of being tired. Remember that was one of the episodes earlier. There's just so many things that we just take for granted. But in this case, finding the time to say, hey, how are you, bro? Or, hey, sis, you good? Is, I don't know. But that's a part of managing interpersonal relationships, making sure you're able to get past just the work friends or the people that you deal with on your the people, Joe at the coffee shop. You go there every single day. You're getting your gas, you're getting your coffee, and you're like, hey, how's everyone going? Oh, everything's good. And then you leave. That doesn't count, okay? Joe's not your friend. He doesn't like you. But the minute your chip declines, Joe's going to turn on you. I'm just saying. Let me see. Managing your health. This is another topic. Managing your health is very important because you plan to live long enough to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? I mean, you've been working 9 to 5 all this time, and then you die. That sucks. I'd rather get hit by a bus than to sit up here and work super, super hard and then die with lung cancer. It's like, tomato, I guess, in this case, because, you've worked so hard, and then you just can't enjoy anything that you've done because now you're in the hospital. But I'd rather get hit by a bus. I shouldn't say it like that, but I'm just trying to say I'd rather get hit by a bus doing something exciting, enjoying myself, than to be working, and then can't enjoy it at all. That's what I'm trying to say. I probably should have said it better the first time. Let's see. Ooh, here's one. Managing your personal and professional development. Yes, that's very important. I guess it would be like creating that roadmap. Where do I want to be in 10 years? What are my long-term goals? What are my short-term goals? And kind of just digesting that and, really being serious with yourself. What does adulting look like? These are things that I wish I would have had some wisdom on prior to, just getting thrown into this thing, having a will. That's important. Very, very important because, God forbid, the new trend nowadays is, if you don't have a baby on your arm, something's wrong with you, right? So everybody has kids. Babies are the new purses. I'm just saying. So outside of having a baby, because most people have babies outside of wedlock. And I'm not saying it's a black person thing. There's a lot of white people who have babies, too. Don't get confused. There's a lot of white, there's a lot of Hispanics. I mean, shoot, when condoms break, they break, Or sometimes you just don't want to pull out. Sometimes you're in there swimming and you're like, I'm in here, so, But, so yeah, you want to have a will set up just in case something happens, You don't know exactly how much time you have here on this earth. And at the end of the day, if you want to try to be physically and fiscally responsible. Setting up plans for if your kids are young. Where are they going to go when you die? Are they going to be thrown into the system? I mean, that happens a lot. People lose their family members due to car crashes or airplane crashes or murder. I mean, people don't think about that when there's drive-bys and the single mom gets shot by accident because she's just walking her baby across the street and the mom dies. What happens with the kid? There's a lot of things to think about. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Being an informed and rational citizen. Okay. Now, the article says the development of longevity of our society depends on its citizens. We are hurting the future if we don't work to grow our knowledge base, critical thinking skills, and interpersonal skills. We all have important roles to play in the development of our communities, and that impact should not be taken lightly. Okay, so basically, learning your voice, being able to vote, making sure that you're making informed decisions for the long term of your communities, that type of thing. So I'm going to sidetrack real quickly, and then I'll get back to it. Before I do that, I want to give a shout out to Donald Williams Jr., who is the author of this article at adultingstartshere.com. His name is Donald Williams Jr., so shout out to him. This is really good stuff. At adultingstartshere.com. But a friend of mine, I forget his name. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't say that he's a friend. But a guy I know, he told me, now he is very wealthy. I'm going to say he is a billionaire. I'm going to say he's one. But I know he has multiples of millions of dollars. So I'll just even it out. So this guy I know who's a billionaire, very wealthy guy, said, the difference, David, between poor people and rich people isn't, the color of their skin. It isn't anything about that. It doesn't matter any about that. But what it does matter is poor people get loans, okay? Poor people get loans. And I was very surprised because I said, wow, I never thought about that because, the poor people I know, they can't qualify for a loan because they're poor. But he said, yeah, poor people get loans and rich people get insurance. And I said, oh, my gosh, that was a complete curveball because, why buy insurance, right? So he said that when you're rich, you get insurance policies, okay? You just buy insurance policies. Anyone can get an insurance policy, as long as you're healthy and stuff like that. But there are specific health insurance policies that you can actually withdraw from. So you can get money out of these insurance policies that is tax-free and use that to start businesses, business capital, and you make your money make money for you. And I was completely surprised. I was like, oh my gosh. So when you see episodes on TV where they're like, oh my gosh, he killed his wife and took the insurance money and all these things, it's like, you never see someone homeless or whatever, or somebody who's super broke. Oh, they killed it for the insurance money. No, I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, so I thought that was interesting. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll continue this conversation because I think it's rather interesting. All right, give me 1 second. Okay, you guys, we're back. So, my guy Donald Williams Jr. is killing it right now with these fun facts. adultingstartshere.com. Again, I'm not being endorsed. I'm not endorsing, but I will say that this website is pretty nice. So check it out. But yeah, he has this other article that is, when do I start adulting? Okay. And it breaks down what adulting looks like at age 18, right? So let's just say you're I'm 17. Screw this, mom, dad. I hate you. I'm going to run away. And meanwhile, they're like, okay. But when you turn 18, normally your job is still going to school or finishing up college or figuring out what you're going to do, right? And then when you're 22, right, it says, what does adulting look like at age 22? Sometimes you're still in school or you're learning different trades and stuff, so that way you can kind of prepare for your future, which I would strongly suggest if you don't know what you want to do. A friend of mine who is a licensed plumber, okay, plumbing tends to get overlooked, but plumbers make six figures, bro, for real. They actually get paid. Because if you think about it, everyone needs plumbing, right? Because if your toilet breaks, you got to call a plumber. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to YouTube it yourself and fix it, because then you're going to really need plumbing support, and that's going to cost thousands of dollars. But when you look at it, it's like $80 to come out and do an assessment, and then like maybe $200 to actually fix the problem. There's labor costs and things like that, but after like 2 hours of them doing their job, it's basically they're making like $180. And that's a lot of money if you think about it in the grand scheme of things. So like you get 4 or 5 calls in a day, you're set, right? And then don't even get me started if you have a regular hourly schedule. But if you're your own boss, that's even more money. So long story short, don't shade on the plumbers. If you don't know what you want to do, I would strongly suggest plumbing, because you can make bank and your hours are pretty much set unless you go off and do your own thing on the side. But again, you're your own boss. And don't forget you have to pay taxes. Here. So if we keep reading that article, it talks about what does adulting look like at age 25, So most people are done with school and they are starting their careers, and they're like, I want to be career focused. And they don't realize that this is not a sprinting race. This is a long-term thing, So when you are, here it is. When you're voting, when you're actually taking time to vote, for whether it be your local government or your presidential races and stuff, make sure that you're looking down the line, okay? If your goal is to be super rich, you probably don't want to vote to have the rich be super taxed. I'm just going to be honest, because you're kind of voting against your goals, right? Or if your goal is to, hey, I don't want to have any guns in my community, then you probably want to vote for someone who's anti-gun, down the line. We'll see how things go, hopefully, when no one robs you and you're like, hey, I don't have a gun. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't happen. I'm just saying. But yeah, you never know. So just make sure that you're thinking about your future in every aspect of your life. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like your career choices, your romantic relationships. Oh my gosh, that's very important to remember as well. I think we brushed over that a little bit. Making sure that the person that you're marrying, for guys, the lady that you're marrying, make sure that your goals kind of end in the same area, so that way you guys can develop an exciting, memorable, experience getting to that goal. There's going to be highs, lows, ups and downs, all of that stuff, but that's what makes it fun, But as long as you aren't 2 stops ahead of her bus stop, then there's hope, and personal relationships too. But, I'll briefly go over another article that Donald Williams Jr. wrote. It's 9 things every adult should know. And again, I'm going to be brief on this. Number 1, how to manage your time. So, it's interesting because there's actually a breakdown, 6 o'clock a.m., you wake up, 6:30, head to the gym, 7:15, workout, 8:15, leave the gym, 8:30, shower, 9 o'clock, breakfast, listen to the news, or in this case, listen to Basic Dave. And then 10, read emails, start the day, right? And so there's a whole thing. You can break it down. So as an adult, you want to make sure that you're taking your time seriously, which is what we talked about earlier. Also, learn how to say no. N-O. I'm not going to do this. I'm so sorry. I don't have the time. Value your time. Value the investments that you place on yourself. So that's important. Know that early. And since I'm in my 30s, my mid-30s, I would strongly suggest you learn how to say no early. And not to be disrespectful to the person you're saying no to, but, if you don't plan on meeting someone someplace, don't say, well, maybe we'll see. No. I'm not interested in doing that, but thank you for the invitation. Maybe next time, okay, but just be more honest and more direct because it saves time. Strengthening interpersonal skills. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's self-explanatory. I'm not going to go down that path. How to build and maintain a budget. We've talked about that. How taxes work. I'm not a tax accountant, but I will say, just if you're going to save for tax, like if you're your own business, if you're a personal business owner or a small business owner, I would strongly suggest that every dollar that you get, like let's just say you close a deal, right? You get $20,000 for a deal. I would set aside 20% of that because that needs to go to taxes. Every dollar you get, set aside a certain amount because at the end of the year, if you are set up as a Schedule C, you will have to pay that money. That's guaranteed. But there are ways around all of that, so talk to a tax professional to set up your business in a more appropriate manner. But you're not going to get that here because I don't want to have anyone leave in the comments, hey, you guys screwed up my life. Yeah. So, here's another one. How a credit score works. It's very important. Like these are really good. Like I wish I would have had this information. Oh, and how to track your credit score too. The importance of investing. The rule of 72. Let's see what that means. Okay, the article says on adultingstartshere.com, it says, according to investor.gov, the rule of 72 is a great way to estimate how your investments will grow over time. If you know the interest rate, the rule of 72 can tell you approximately how long it will take for your investment to double in value. Simply divide the number by 72. Simply divide the number 72 by your investment's expected rate of return, parentheses, interest rate, okay? Wow, that's interesting. But again, talk to a financial advisor. I am not a licensed financial advisor, so I don't want to get you caught up. But you can go to investor.gov. That's investor.gov, and then you can learn more about that. Or go to adultingstartshere.com. The article is 9 Things Every Adult Should Know. And then you can get that link, to that information. So long story short, adulting is not easy, and common sense is not common. I learned some interesting things here. I wish that I would have known them earlier. But if I did know them earlier, then I wouldn't have much to talk about today. So in actuality, all things do work together. And hopefully you're learning how to have a more productive and prosperous life while you listen to this podcast. I am Basic Dave. And you just listen to Common Sense is Not Common, Adulting is Not Easy. But next week, we're going to talk about how common sense is not easy. Common sense is not common, but we're going to talk about tech issues and problem-solving skills. So if you can relate to that, you'll enjoy that. So if you have not, follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at IAmBasicDave. And please leave your comments below. I want to know how you feel. Are these podcasts helping you grow? Are they talking to you? Are they connecting with you? Are you feeling more empowered? I can't wait to see what you think. I'll talk with you later. Bye. It's just me. It's just me. I don't have any friends.